The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour.
ChatGPT did become the world's most downloaded non-gaming app.
Literally the job of everyone in government to address the media and the public.
What are your thoughts, audience? What are your thoughts on Zandy Silva as the deputy PLP leader?
A community that can't feed itself is a community that,
What you may not know, though, is that Bermuda, we have a connection with Epstein, too.
Things that people are doing right, the youth are doing right, that is not being advertised enough.
When you see your access to US dollars disappear, that's when you have a problem.
If you've got a town in the UK with a similar sized population, this place absolutely outshines it.
It's Tuesday, the 16th day of May 2026. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. This is the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC Bermuda, Medical House Lindos, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 1075 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. I'm Jamal Hartman, and a happy Tuesday to all of you. How's everyone feeling today? You made it through the holiday weekend. You all are in summer mode. I saw some of the videos and the pictures, and yeah, we're going to talk about some of that today. You all were showing out this weekend. Yeah. So much to discuss after a long holiday weekend. So much to discuss. And I was up late last night, didn't even make it to the gym this morning because I was just like, I did a monologue, then I wanted to switch it. Then I said, no, stick to this one. But time off gives me so much to choose from. It's like, you ever been to Cheesecake Factory and you've seen the menu and it's like, my goodness, it's so much to choose from and you just don't know what to touch. We can literally go with the use of AI and how people are doing things and literally getting things wrong when it comes to these posters and various things that they're sharing information. With no shame at all, just not caring. We can go with the homes, the mobile homes finally arriving in Bermuda. A new day, has arrived in Bermuda. We can go with the idea that national heroes, Bermuda's national heroes, are legit being forgotten. Year by year, they become the least of the thought when it comes to the holiday weekend due to Bermuda Carnival. It's a lot, but we will take a focus this morning. But let me speak to some of you individually. James Burgess says, good morning to the Daily Hour team. Show I'm watching and listening. Had a great holiday. Love to hear it. And a great morning to you. Miss Ellen Kate Horton says, good morning, everyone. Great morning to you, Miss Horton. Claire Warner says, good morning, Jamal. Welcome back. And a great morning to you. Happy to be back and welcome back to you. We've got Suzanne Ingham says, good morning, Jamal. It's a super awesome, truthful Tuesday. I stayed home and rested. I needed the break. I'm excited to be back in the TDH house. Thank you. Indeed. Suzanne Ingham says, are those trailer homes hurricane safe? Yes, it's a lot to discuss. We'll have to touch on that one in subsequent episodes, but a lot to get through, folks, a lot. But greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. Can you afford to retire? Well, a good one today as we welcome Angela Bruce-Heath back on from Freisenbruch to help us with that question and more. The Daily Play is going to be keys to the past in partnership with Curb, so you don't want to miss this week's clue. You all have been on fire getting these answers, right? Also, don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, so what's the question this morning? Well, I'm going to give it to you, and I'll tell you why. What are your thoughts on the standards expected of those in public office? What is Jamel talking about this morning? See, on one hand, most of us enjoy having fun. Most of us have probably had moments where we were loud, excited, dancing, laughing, or doing something that someone else may not consider proper. If a person is not harming anyone, not disrespecting anyone, not breaking the law, should they not be allowed to enjoy themselves? At the same time, when people hold public office, especially the highest political office in the country, people will naturally view them differently. Fair or unfair, there is an expectation that they represent more than themselves. They represent the office, the country, and to many, the standard of leadership people expect to see. This is where it gets interesting, folks. Are we asking politicians to be human? Or are we asking them to perform a version of respectability at all times? And if we are asking them to carry themselves differently, where does that standard begin and end? Would we be comfortable if our employer told us what we could or couldn't do on our personal time, assuming we weren't doing anything illegal or damaging to the company? Many of us would say absolutely not. Yet when it comes to people in public office, we often expect them to live under a different set of rules. Then there's the other side. Would we feel the same if it was a teacher or a principal, maybe the commissioner of police, a pastor, or another public figure behaving in a way that some considered inappropriate? Would we be okay with our children seeing people in certain positions acting a certain way in public? That's why I think this conversation is bigger than the premier's one clip in that video or the pictures that are being shared throughout social media. This is more about standards. Many people say they want more class in public office, myself included. And I understand it. But the challenge is that we may not all agree on what class actually looks like. For some, class means formality. For others, it means authenticity, respect, and not pretending to be something you're not. Personally, I believe people should be able to enjoy life, especially if they're not causing harm to anyone. But I also understand why some people believe those who choose public leadership should be mindful that they are always being watched, recorded, judged, and interpreted. You've probably seen the videos of the Premier, David Burt. You've seen the pictures. You've heard people talking. Question of the morning: what are your thoughts on the standards expected of those in public office? Think about that for a second. We'll take a break, come back, and discuss it. Stick with us.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
All right, audience, this is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. You heard the question. Again, there have been videos and pictures shared of your Premier, the Honorable David Burt, from this past weekend's carnival activities. There are many people who have a lot of concerns about the pictures and the videos that have been shared. People feel like, hey, where's the class in office? Like there was a time when, being in office and representing the country, required a certain standard of individual. So the question of the morning, very simple. You can see it scrolling at the bottom of the screen. What are your thoughts on the standards expected of those in public office? And here's your poll for the day. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Do you believe those in political office should be held to a higher standard? That's a yes or no question. Do you believe those in political office should be held to a higher standard? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Now, I remember a time, when school teachers, right? They had to, they didn't want to be hanging out with their, students and things of that nature. And I'll never forget a friend of mine who was once a teacher. He was older and he saw some of his former students at bars and clubs that he would go to. And for him, it was like, oh, no way. I don't want to be in the same place as them. He was not even their teacher anymore. He wasn't even their teacher anymore. But those were the standards he had set for himself. Right? At the end of the day, I personally do think it's unfair to put people in public office on, holding them to a higher standard. I just think we need to have standards across the board in our community. However, people in public office or political office chose to be there. No one forced them to do this. And there are things that come with the territory when you do that. Right? Now, again, Bermuda Carnival is a time to have fun and celebrate and enjoy themselves. And I understand that the clips and the videos and pictures with the Premier, the Honorable David Burt, have sparked a debate online. I'm torn. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm torn. Because here's the thing. When you think about both Curtis Dickinson and Jason Hayward, they're both more reserved. As far as I know, Jason Hayward's not a drinker. Curtis Dickinson's not a party goer, as far as I know. If those are the two to choose from, then maybe the standards do improve based on some of the responses people have had of the Premier's carnival activities. But I do believe that people should be able to enjoy themselves. I guess it's a matter of us collectively trying to figure out what that looks like. Because as they say, things on the internet, whether they're deleted or not, are forever, right? They're forever. And I think it's worth a conversation as to, look, at the end of the day in Bermuda, there's no standard as far as who could run for political office, right? I mean, all you have to do is be Bermudian by status, right? So, I mean, we've had, bank robbers and various other kinds of people with criminal records, people who've been caught with drugs and the like. So, I mean, it's no standard as to really who can become a politician. So we can't necessarily expect standards after. And then we have a problem in Bermuda holding our politicians accountable, right? So if we're not holding them accountable, then this is just what the norm, like what do we expect? Again, audience, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the standards of those in public office, political office? What are your thoughts? And let us know in the poll. Do you believe those in political office should be held to a higher standard? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Let's see what you are saying this morning. We've got 911 Island Girl says, when I began teaching in 1984, the powers that be at the Department of Education gave a list of things we absolutely could not do, especially in public. I still maintain said decorum today. What are some of those things? If you remember, or if you're willing to share, what were some of the things that educators could not do in public? And do we know if those things still exist? Like other things in you alls, like many of you go to work every day. Are there things that you're not allowed to do in public that may impact your company? Now, we often talk about many people in the IB sector who, well, they can't get involved politically, right? So that's something, I mean, maybe it's not low standard or so on, but maybe that's something. But again, this morning, if you're just tuning in, this is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. It was Bermuda Carnival weekend. People were out having a blast, celebrating, with a lot of music and dancing and partying. And there were quite a few pictures and clips that have gone around about the Premier David Burt. I'm torn with it. I am torn because in one breath, I understand the concern. It's like when you think back about leaders, this is not norm, right? This is not norm. But then again, I think globally, political leadership, the bar has been lowered. So it's so low now. It's probably at one of the lowest in my lifetime that we got to ask ourselves, I mean, is this the new norm? Right? Is this the new norm? Are we just being miserable and grumpy? Shouldn't we allow people to have fun regardless of what position they hold if they're not causing harm to others? Or do we make sure, no, these are the standards that we want and people need to be held to them? Suzanne Ingham says there used to be a standard, or a standard was held high for a politician. A clean record was one of them. What do you mean clean record? We've had politicians who've literally been in prison for some of the worst kind of crimes. I don't know. We don't have standards as to who can be a politician. We really don't. Which is, I say this respectfully, probably why we have the kind of people getting politically involved that we do. That was one of Sir John's things, like Bermuda used to attract some of the very best. And I'm not talking about what they do as far as career and, professionally. I'm just talking about from a mindset, from a ideology perspective. Deportment, how they carried themselves. Charles H. Jefferson II says, while standards for politicians might be subjective, going too far with public intoxication is something that we should all be concerned about, as it sets a bad example. We have a drinking problem. So I've been very careful this morning because, I have no proof that the individual, the premier himself, was publicly intoxicated or drinking. I didn't see the evidence. Based on behavior, I could assume, but again, I have to be careful with that because I have no proof. That said, the point is well taken because, it goes back to 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago when I wrote a letter to the editor about, the leader, the premier, David Burt, and drinking in Bermuda and cot match. And it was frowned upon by some, right? And I stand on that today, that when you choose, again, he wasn't conscripted. I had to say that. He wasn't forced to get politically involved. He chose to do this. And when you choose to do this, then there should be standards that you abide by, right? So I take that point. There was a time, I remember I had lunch with, when he was Premier, Craig Kennedy at Hamilton Princess, and we were leaving. And there were young children a part of a school, right? And this was like 2013, early 2013. There were young children. They said, "Hey, John Swan, Premier," right? Now, these were little children, like probably 3 or 4, and referring to Mr. Kennedy as John Swan, which I found very funny. But that's the respect that Sir John had that transcended generations, right? Sir John probably had a great life in times of partying and a good time, but you never saw this stuff. And people will say, well, the internet and social media wasn't what it was then, what it is today. That's fair. But again, we live according to what's in society at the time, right? Let me be very clear. I'm not defending David Burt, the Premier of Bermuda, at all right now. What I'm simply trying to say is that collectively, we don't even agree as to what the standard should be. We have no standards. And if we do, we don't enforce them. We don't enforce them. We don't enforce them because we don't know how to hold our elected officials accountable. And this is why it happens every cup match, every carnival. And then we're right back to this conversation. Again, maybe the positive in this is that the two gentlemen who have put their names forward to vie for leadership at this time are completely different in that respect. So the standards and the class that many people are calling to return to office may not be far off. Again, what are your thoughts, audience? What are your thoughts on the standards expected of those in political and public office? And answer the poll for us. Do you believe those in political office should be held to a higher standard? 1 for yes, 2 for no. We've got Ms. Ellen Kate Horton says, unfortunately, they seem to think it's the new norm. And that is unfortunate. It should not be. Charles H. Jeffers II says, I do recognize that some people need alcohol to have a good time, especially those who might be socially awkward without it. Yeah, that's what I see. Here's what I want to say, and I don't want to be too harsh. Premier David Burt doesn't seem to be the person who grew up as a teenager in Bermuda. And so he seems to, despite the position of premier, there seems to be a social validation that he needs, right? A social validation. And because he needs that social validation, the partying and the drinking seems like it's a part of his personality that he's adopted so that he can get that. Like, I'm not just this nerdy, stuck-up kid that went to Solstice, then Florida Air Academy, then was it George Washington or University or something, and then ended up in politics as the chairman and then, premier. Like, I'm not that guy. I'm also this fun, character who can drink and have fun and do what you do. Social validation. The premiership's not enough. He needs that social validation. And I think that's the point the last commenter was making. 9/11 Island Girl says, examples she requested: drinking and loud, obnoxious behavior in public, inappropriate attire, being unwed and pregnant, getting in trouble with the law. Teachers were held to a very high standard. Wow. You could not have children out of wedlock as a teacher in Bermuda in the 80s? Woo. I mean, obviously the other stuff I noticed, but that's incredible. Wow. Dorian says, yup, I saw DB, speaking of David Burt, and he doesn't care. I also saw the sister from my church, my female colleague, and my mate's wife shaking their butt cheeks on the streets. How do I look at them today when fully dressed? Voices of Our Time, 8329 says, bottom line, poor role model for our children and a poor representation of the legacy of our elders. Ms. Ellen Kate Horton says, standards are important. We've got Stacey Madeira says, people complain that some politicians are detached from the everyday person. Now we're going to complain if the politicians are getting down with the people. Kevin at all. And this is where I think we need to be careful. This is where I think we need to be careful. I enjoy Cot Match every year. I get around my boys who love to drink and have fun. I don't smoke or drink. I don't need to smoke, drink, or be inebriated or under the influence of something to be around everyday people. I don't need to have substances to get down with the people. I don't need to do anything excessively to feel validated or accepted by the people. That's where I think the disconnect here is. If we're going to say that someone has to drink and be loud and obnoxious and be under the influence of substances to be among the people, then something's wrong with our community and the people in it. And I'm really tired of our community being defined by things that should not be reflected upon on all of us. So I'm torn because I want people to be authentic. I want people to be themselves. But I don't think we should be making excuses for poor behavior and poor leadership at the same time. And then the question becomes, are people being themselves? Or are they seeking validation to seem like they are part of the people? Again, as I said earlier, I believe people should be able to have fun as long as they are not causing harm to others. I'm for that. I am for that. But standards. Then Ingham says, yes, MP carried themselves to a very high standards. They were very respectful and wouldn't put themselves in any precarious positions. They were not ill spoken of. We need standards to be enforced. We've got Alison Russell says standards matter. Hold the premier accountable and have it informed of this. Okay. And we've got 9/11 Island Girls says, if we could go back to old Bermuda where everybody held each other accountable and there was no backlash, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Low standards in every area has become the accepted norm. See, I don't know. I'm confused with, not confused. I'm torn because I don't want to go back to old Bermuda. I like how Bermuda's have evolved. Do I appreciate everything about where we are? No, I don't. But I like that we've evolved away from this sort of conservatism where we couldn't enjoy life. I do. I don't think everything old was bad, but I do think we had to evolve, right? And free up. Now, you all saying, no, Jamal, freeing up has led us to a bad place. No, bad behavior, individual decisions, and a lack of accountability have led us there. Stacey Medeiros says, be who you are, live and let live. I'm all fine with that, Stacey Medeiros, until you begin causing harm to others. I'm fine with that. And it can be said that certain behaviors do lead to harm to others. Nicole Walker says, drinking is cool, but public intoxication is not appropriate. How can we change our cultural relationship with alcohol if our leaders aren't setting the example? Well, the challenge is we can't change the relationship if we're making excuses for leaders. If we're saying things like, let people be who they are. That's what Bermudians do. It's not who we are. It's what we've accepted because we've lowered the bar. We've got Dr. Maria Siemens as a poor role model for the youth, a sad representation of legacy politicians. Behave right, walk in premiership, not your own ship, okay? She goes on to say, have fun with the common people and make deals with the other ones, just awful. And goes on to say, then we wonder why we can't complain effectively about poor behavior in schools when they are just being their own selves. We've got Nicole Walker says, this has been the most ghetto premiership in my opinion. Wow. Okay. 9/11 Island Girls is very correct. Having children out of wedlock as a teacher in the 80s was deemed a very poor example for children. A friend got pregnant and everybody was disgusted, including parents and other teachers. Oh, interesting times. Charles H. Jefferson II, he says, the reality is that most make poor decisions when too much alcohol has been consumed. Yeah, when we're under the influence of stuff, we make different decisions, right? Look, I want to say this, because I want to go back to what I said earlier regarding the Premier David Burt. I began this conversation in saying that the clip that's going around is probably not a good look. And that, the premier was out there having fun, shirt off, swim trunks, yelling and enjoying the moment as expected, right? And yeah, there are many people who don't deem it appropriate for the leader of a country. There's another side to this, though. Because I guarantee you within the next 12 months, whether it's Hayward or Dickinson or someone else who throws their head in the ring, we're going to be speaking of how detached they are. We're going to be speaking about how they don't respond or communicate effectively. We will. Why? Because they already do it. That's who they are. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just simply saying is we're talking about two different extremes. I'm going to say something with the most respect I can say it. The days of leadership of a Sir John Swan are long behind us. It's unfortunate. But there's no one coming through those doors right now, shaking your hand, asking you genuine questions about how you're doing, carrying themselves with a class that was normalized in a time that shaped who and what Bermuda would become. We have people with the intellect of Sir John, but not the personality. Leadership looks different today. Very different. It's a matter of whether or not we want to accept this different or not. That is on us. All right, final results from the poll. We've got 100% of you. Do you believe those in political office should be held to a higher standard? 100% have said yes. All righty. There you have it, folks. There you have it. Again, political office is a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice. Let's take a quick break. Well, I got to give you days of the year, but let's show some love to Titan Express and Secure. Then I'll give you the days of the year. Then we'll go to a break, and we've got Angela Bruce-Heath. We just had a conversation with Shawnette Sumner, retired educator, about retirement, giving some tips. She's retired, and we're going to have a conversation with Angela Bruce-Heath, courtesy of Freisenbruch. Get Insured. Speaking about, I want to know, can we afford to retire in Bermuda? She's going to help us with that conversation.
The daily discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Titan Express delivers safe, professional, and reliable transportation and tours across the island. From island tours to cultural experiences, they set the standard. And Secure is your go-to for property management, waste management, and residential and commercial services. Visit securebda.com. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is their commitment to you.
All righty, folks. Days of the year for today. World Refill Day. Refill your bottles. I'm going to go with this. International Day of the African Child. You know what? Real quickly, since it's International Day of the African Child, you know, I've seen some really disgusting posts regarding the World Cup. You know, a commenter made yesterday saying that Cape Verde women are the Latinas of Africa. And I saw a bunch of Cape Verde women responding, we are West African. Took it very insulting. Now, I have been blessed with so many Cape Verde friends because I lived in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, and that's where a great amount of the population of Cape Verdean people are. And I was speaking to two of my friends yesterday, Cape Verde friends, and we were just, you know, shooting the breeze. And, you know, I was reminding them I haven't received a Christmas card in a while. But I think one thing I've always enjoyed about like football and the World Cup and the global game that it is my mother realized I love sports at a very young age, and I probably told you all this. But when she realized I love sports at a young age, she got me books, right? And in these books, that's how I really got better at reading. I would read different things about the sport. So that's how I learned a lot about sports, but most of all about geography and people. And if it were not for sport, I would believe like what I saw on TV, right? So I remember we were fighting conscription, and this guy, he was in the PLP. He said, Bermudians live better than 99% of the people in the world. And I said, that's typical like United States capitalism talk, right? You create a medium and you make your people believe that they live better than everyone else by showing them, you know, the bad of everywhere else, right? So Bermuda, we had American TV. So all we saw was, you know, children with flies on them and so on. And we just made it believe like, oh, you have it better here, right? So don't challenge. And I think the World Cup gives people an opportunity to realize that a lot of what you were taught and told was a lie. It's not true. And that there's a world beyond what you've been indoctrinated to believe exists. Yeah? So, in honor of International Day of the African Child, I just want to give a shout out to all the African nations participating in the World Cup. Big up to Ivory Coast, who collected a late victory the other night. But that said, it's Fresh Veggies Day. Fresh Veggies Day. So I'm going to ask you all, fresh veggie, what is your favorite fresh veggie to eat? Your favorite fresh veggie to eat. By the way, is corn considered a vegetable or a carb? And is it still fresh if I get it right from the garden market or whatever and put it on the grill, topped with like some butter and cayenne, and is it still considered fresh? My favorite veggie, I would say, honestly, I would say carrots. Oh, see, Lydia said it. Fresh carrots. Yeah, fresh carrots. You can't go wrong. Julie says beets. I love me some beets. When I meet people who don't love beets, I'm always shocked and surprised. Beets are delicious. We've got broccoli, says Shawnette Sumner. Broccoli, steamed or raw. Okay. All right, folks. Well, let's take a quick break. We've got a very special guest coming up, Angela Bruce-Heath. I love this conversation, the retirement conversation. And I'm not saying that you all are getting near retirement age. But even if you were, we should be having these conversations a lot earlier. And I'm looking forward to the conversation with Angela. You don't want to miss it. In the meantime, going to break. Whether you're streaming with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, or Instagram, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We'll be back in a few.
Guess what? Bermuda's most popular game is back. That's right, Shoe Buy is back in stores. But wait, there's more. The brand new Shoe Buy Summer Edition is here too. Bring the laughs, the vibes, the friendly chaos to your barbecues and summer get-togethers with Bermuda's favorite game. Don't miss your chance to get yours. Visit BermudaTrivia.com and follow Bermuda Trivia on social media to learn more.
One Lucky Bucks in the summer edition has a golden ticket with the chance to win a grand prize courtesy of One Communications.
Hi there, welcome to Medical House. We're located at number 6 Bakery Lane. I can't wait to show you all of the great stuff that we carry. Come on inside, let's see. Long days, long shifts, you no longer have to endure comfortable underwear. Designed by nurses, we now offer premium undergarments by Swoop that are unique, fun, comfortable, and functional. The only underwear you'll ever want to wear. Who says high-quality functional products can be stylish and comfortable at the same time?
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast, so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It. Freshness at your doorstep. Delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
What lasts isn't what you buy, but what it becomes. With the HSBC MasterCard credit card, every spend quietly adds to a story shaped by intention and offers what matters most. Support that meets you where you are. Protection that preserves what you choose. Confidence for the unexpected. Peace of mind wherever your story leads. Start your next chapter. Use your card today. HSBC is licensed to conduct banking and investment business by the Bermuda Monetary Authority.
You want to come get some? Playing around. Playing around. I got this juice. I got it, no doubt.
Ever taken medication and thought, why is this hitting me so hard? Or why isn't this doing anything at all? Here's something you may not know. Your body processes medication the same way it needs to process food, using enzymes. And these enzymes metabolize medication so it can be converted into its useful form or removed from your body.
Pharmacogenetics looks at how your DNA influences the way your body metabolizes or breaks down medications. It helps explain why a drug that works well for one person causes side effects in another and barely works at all for someone else. That means the same pill at the same dose can feel very different from one person to the next. It's not about blame, it's not about doing something wrong, it's simply biology. And once you know what works best for you, medication decisions stop being guesswork and start becoming personalized.
Alrighty, welcome back to The Big Show. Jamel Hartman here. This is the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC, Bermuda Medical House, Linda's People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 107.5 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Real quickly, I saw something beautiful yesterday, folks. I saw something very beautiful. I live in Atlanta, and Atlanta is traffic is just weird. It's crazy. It can be very bad. And as I was driving through downtown Atlanta, so the Cape Verde and Spain game was held in Atlanta yesterday, and I decided to come back home from some work I was doing during rush hour. One of the worst things. So I went around, try to go around this highway, avoid the highway, and I ended up taking some back roads and going through the city. And as I went across the King Center, Dr. Martin Luther King, the center, there was a lot of Spanish people. I'm guessing they had their Spanish jerseys on, and they were taking pictures and visiting the landmarks, the King Center and the like. And it was beautiful to see. It was beautiful to see, honestly. It was one of those things where it really captures you like, wow, look at this. And it reminded me of how important history, a role history plays, not just locally or nationally, but globally, that people from Spain wanted to experience the King Center. So I just wanted to share that. I've never been to the King Center, so I have to up my game and make sure I get there. All right, folks. Well, got a very special guest. So without further ado, let's bring in our very special guest. It's not her first time on the show. Let's give a warm TH welcome to, let me make sure I got the right music for you. I don't want to play Angela and have a siren going, but let's give a warm TDH welcome. Angela Bruce-Heath from Freisenbruch. Angela, how are you?
Hi, Jamel. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I got to ask you before we jump into anything. We were just asking the audience. It's Fresh Veggie Day. What is your favorite fresh veggie, Angela?
Well, I like anything sweet. So carrots, beets, corn. The Bermuda corn's been really good lately. So
yeah, I think we're aligned. We're aligned. So basically, when you got some fresh veggies, just you've got my info. Let me know. But thank you for coming again. As I mentioned before you came on, we had someone on, Shawnette Sumner, recently. She's been retired for a couple of years, and she was just speaking about being retirement, some things people need to know. Not really speaking about finances, but just how to keep busy and the like. But this conversation takes that to a different level, because some people feel like they can't do anything because they don't have the money to do it. A lot of people are saying, I cannot afford to retire in Bermuda, like their home, the only place they've ever lived. Speak to us. Are these valid concerns, and are these things people can overcome?
Sure, absolutely. They are very valid. And I saw one of the comments when you first put up the topic, someone wrote that they can't afford to retire here. And it's very valid. Bermuda has one of the highest costs of living, if not the highest cost of living. And so when people retire, the costs don't go away. Some people still retire and they still have a mortgage and still paying rent, which is a big expense. Healthcare costs is another thing that people have to take into consideration. So if you remember back in the day, a lot of time people retired, they didn't have a mortgage. The mortgage was paid off. People nowadays are having to take care of their children and their grandchildren, even in retirement. And some people, even when they retire, have family members. So the costs are not decreasing when people retire. And that is a very valid concern that people have.
Yeah. And folks, if you have any questions or comments for Angela, you can send them through. She'll be happy to answer them. We have these conversations regularly with the good folks at Freisenbruch. Speak to us about mistakes, though. What do you think is the biggest mistake people make when preparing for retirement?
One of the biggest mistakes, I would say, is probably waiting too long to actually have an idea of what retirement looks like. And you made a comment, you said we should have been having these conversations a lot earlier, which is so very true. Pension legislation went into effect the year 2000. So people, that's not that long ago, 26 years. We're in 2026 now, so people have been putting aside their 10%. Some people do additional voluntary contributions. So yeah, the biggest mistake basically is waiting too long. When you're in your 20s and 30s, people think, well, I have a lot of time. But before you blink, you're in that retirement phase, in your 50s, in your 60s, and then you're really concerned. So the earlier you start preparing, the better off you'll be.
And you mentioned the Pension Act 2000. Is having a pension enough anymore? I mean, you've got people who just that's all they're relying on, and then when it comes to retirement, when they make it, they're not getting enough money to be able to pay their rent or finish paying their mortgage.
Yes, correct. Because it's like it's inflation. The inflation is very high, it seems. So when people retire, they have the government pension that everybody pays into, and the max right now is about, I think it's around $1,750. So that's just the government pension by itself. And we know that's not going far in Bermuda. And then everyone has their employer pension, which is either a defined benefit plan. Most people have a defined contribution plan. So the government plan, that's at $1,750, and your benefit from your employer, that's going to depend on what you put into that, most people have put in that 10%. If you haven't done any additional voluntary contributions, people are finding that when they go to retire, it's not enough. And remember that employer pension plan, you're getting a monthly amount. A lot of people think they get that entire amount, one lump sum, but it's a monthly amount that you have to live by. And remember, that's the only income. So you're on a fixed income in a sense. If you don't have any other income coming in, say rental properties, other investments, it's going to really be tough. So I encourage people before they retire, especially those in their younger years or have a while before retirement, to do additional voluntary contributions. So that's the amount above that which is required, so that when they do get to retirement, they have a large amount or an amount that will sustain them. People are living longer, Jamal, as you know. It's not unusual to read in the paper somebody celebrated their 100th year birthday. People living into their 90s. So once a person turns 65 and is retiring, they have to plan for an additional 30 plus years to live. So that pension plan and putting aside funds is very important.
Indeed. I want to go back to inflation, though, because you did mention that. And I know for many working people, some of them will get cost of living increase and so on. Speak to us about how this works with pension and retirement planning.
Sure. So inflation, that's a very real concern. People in their 30s and up, they remember they used to go to the grocery store maybe 10, even 15 years ago. You see inflation because you see how expensive things have gotten. Even rents have gotten expensive, just the cost of goods. So $1,000 yesterday or even $100 yesterday is not going to be the same tomorrow, right? So that's inflation is eating away at the value of the dollar in a sense. So it's important to have money, your funds grow, and you do that by investing your funds. Having it sitting in a savings account is definitely not going to keep up with inflation. If it gets some savings account get probably 0.1 or 0.01%, some get I think 2 or 3%, but that is hardly keeping up with inflation. That's a concern. So therefore, we always advise people to invest. And the younger you are, the more aggressive one can invest in, or the longer they have before they need their pension, they can invest in something what we call an aggressive form of investment, which is like predominantly stock in a sense, so that money can grow and can keep up with inflation.
Indeed. Again, audience, if you have any questions or comments, you can send them through. I want to know in the audience, is there anyone in the audience who is either near retirement or retired at this time? Let us know if you are either near retirement or retired at this time. Just want to get a gauge of where people are. Let's talk about young folks, because some people, we love to. Let's use Carnival Weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We just spent a lot of money for Carnival Weekend, and then we got Cotton Match for spending a lot of money. We want to have fun. We want to have fun. We want to enjoy life. We want to, travel and do things. But when you see people enjoying life and doing those things, what advice would you give to younger people who feel like retirement is too far away to think about? Because again, we hear it all the time. I said it earlier, as you mentioned, we're not having these conversations early enough.
Mm-hmm. So younger people, and I love talking to younger people because they get it. A lot of them get it. It's not too late to start planning. Yes, have fun, but have priorities. So have fun, have Carnival, Cotton Match, like you said, traveling. People want to travel, so yes, have fun. But no, you still have to put a certain amount aside for when you do retire. People in their 20s and 30s think they have forever. They think retirement is so far off. But then when I meet with people in their 50s and 60s, even late 40s, they're saying, my goodness, it came at a blink of an eye. One's like, 1 minute I'm in my 20s, the next minute I'm in my 50s and concerned because I didn't put enough money aside. Mm-hmm. So for young people, you have time and you have compound growth, which is really on your side. Just putting aside small amounts, extra funds, in your pension or in a retirement plan, as I mentioned, investments, not just sitting in your savings account, can really grow over time. And the younger you start, in a sense, the less you have to really put in to have that compound growth when you do reach your 50s and your 60s. Mm-hmm. So young people are at an advantage because they have that time for the monies to grow. Mm-hmm. And they have the benefit of it compounding. That's growth on top of growth. So I really encourage young people to invest their money. Don't just have it sitting in a savings account, and don't wait.
Yeah. I did ask some folks in the audience, let us know if you're near retirement or retired. And we've got Suzanne Ingham says, past retirement and still have to work, just under 3 years left on my mortgage and have to help kids. And I think you may have mentioned earlier situations like that. Manuela says retired. Crystal Talbot says next month, retired. Pam Wade says retired. We've got a question here from Shawnette Sumner, who was recently on, and she's retired. Says, what is your advice to the 65 to 70-year-old who is facing retirement and has never been able to save money, has nothing in the bank, but they have to finish?
That's a tough one. And I meet with people quite a bit that are in that same situation. So the reality is, some people may not be able to retire. We see people a lot of times even packing groceries. I have conversations with people like that who are past that retirement age, still having to work, not because they want to, but because they have to. So the reality of it is, for those that are 65 or 70, you may have to, unfortunately, continue to work because you have to have money to survive. You got to have that. Your health insurance is a big expense. As you get older, you're using using healthcare even more, medications, and going to the doctor even more than you did when you were younger. If you don't have enough in your pension, or the government pension isn't enough, the unfortunate thing is you may have to continue to work at a job somewhere, or reach out to family, but then family have their own challenges as well. It's a tough situation. When you do reach your 60s and your 70s, and you have to retire from the workforce, but yet you don't have enough funds to retire. It's tough. And the reality is you need the funds, and you may need to continue working for a while. But that's why I try to tell people before they retire, or years before they retire, put money aside. You may have to sacrifice. Jamal, you mentioned going to Carnival. Carnival is expensive. It's very expensive. So you may have to sacrifice. Instead of going to all the parties, just go to one or two, but put more money aside instead of taking a lot of trips. Put those funds aside now, so that when you do get to that age, you're not making choices between medication or paying your Balco bill or not being able to get enough food or having to continue to work into your 70s or even 80s. It's really tough.
Indeed. We've got another question from Traveling Trotty asking, what questions should employees ask their employer about their pension plan?
Great question. So firstly, when employees sign up into the pension plan, they're filling out that enrollment form, they need to know exactly what they're being invested in. Are they being invested in the correct, they choose the correct investment based on how long they have and based on their risk tolerance. Too many people we see, they get the enrollment form, they just complete it, they pick any investment, have no investment, they have no idea how they are investing their money. With regards to your employer, the questions you need to ask is, first of all, making sure they have a pension plan, making sure the funds that are coming out are going into that pension plan. If you're Bermudian or spouse of Bermudian, by law, your employer has to have what we call a registered pension plan, which means it's registered with the pension commissioner. So, and I tell people all the time to check their pay stubs when they get it. Usually they're electronic, and also make sure that amount that's coming out of their pay is being put into their pension. All the providers in Bermuda have online portals. I encourage everyone to log into your portal and check your pension. Make sure that your money is being invested how you want to invest it. And unfortunately, in Bermuda, it's not unusual, and it's been in the news previously, that some employers are taking money out of your paycheck, but not investing it or not putting it towards your pension. So it's important that you check your pension, and if you don't see those funds being allocated or contributed to your plan, you have to have that conversation with your employer.
Indeed. Basically, ask your employer some questions, folks. We have a responsibility to make sure this is in our hands. For someone tuned in right now who feels behind, what would you say to them?
If I would say, have an idea of what retirement looks like. If you're behind, you may need to do additional voluntary contributions. I mentioned that quite a bit, even when I'm talking to groups or giving presentations. Do that additional fund. Look at your bills. Make sure you have, say, 3 to 6 months in like a savings plan that you can eat. 3 to 6 months of emergency funds, which means you have 3 to 6 months of bill paying ability for those actual months. And if you're behind, you need to do additional voluntary contributions to try to catch up. The longer you wait, the more you'll have to contribute. Realize what your bills will be. Will you have a mortgage when you retire? Will you still be paying rent? You're going to need health insurance. Some employers allow you to stay on their plan, but then you have to pay for that. What does that cost? Future care costs, I think, $500 and some. If you're basically Bermuda spouse, Bermuda lived in Bermuda for the past 10 years, they're $500 and some. So whether you're going to have future care, if you want private insurance, you're paying over $1,000, maybe close to $2,000. So you need to know what retirement looks like, what expenses you're going to have at retirement, and then know what your pension looks like. I talk to many people who haven't even looked at their pension for years. Know what you're invested in, know what your balance is, and even have a conversation with someone at your provider, like a retirement specialist. I do this also so you can see exactly what your pension will look like when you retire. That's important. People need to look at their pensions and know what they have and know how it's going to affect them once that paycheck stops.
Indeed. When is the right time to speak to someone like yourself? And folks, if you are interested, you can see Angela's information. It's been scrolling at the bottom of the screen if you're watching online. And for those of you tuned in on the radio, it is the number to reach her is 297-8690 or email Bruce-Heath at fmgroup.bm. But when is the right time to reach out to someone like yourself to get expert guidance?
The right time is now. Of course, I always say the younger you are, the better, because you have a lot of time, but you don't want to wait, because you need to know if you're going to need to do additional voluntary contributions. It never hurts to do those additional voluntary and have that money invested, making sure you have your 3 to 6 months worth of emergency funds in something like a savings account. Know what bills you're going to have when you do retire, taking all that into consideration. Know any other risks you have. I talk to people about that as well, even in life insurance, house insurance. So the time is now, not waiting. It's now.
Indeed. I really appreciate you all coming by, having these conversations, and the audience engaging. I really do. But I've got one more question from the audience, which I think is just phenomenal to end on. So Shawnette Sumner's putting you on the spot. She says, so do you feel one can retire in Bermuda?
Thank you, Shawnette, for your question. I do think people can retire, but they have to plan. Right now, if you're in your 60s or even late 50s and don't have a plan or don't have enough, it's going to be very challenging. Younger people who have a time before retirement, they can retire. I believe they can retire. They'll have to make sacrifices. It may mean, whether it means going away to school or doing something in the trades, you're going to need to make enough money, maybe mean having a second job, to make enough money to put in that pension, invest it correctly, and let it grow. I think that people can retire in Bermuda. It's going to be challenging. It's going to take some sacrifices because Bermuda is very expensive. It's a very expensive place to live. So it's going to take sacrifices. And like I said, maybe one job, maybe 2 jobs in the beginning, but once you reach retirement, you should have a nice sum of money in your pension, but you got to invest it correctly.
Indeed. And that's where professionals like you come in handy. Angela, thank you so much. I enjoyed this. I look forward to the next convo, and have a wonderful... Oh, before you go, got to ask you this question because Carnival's over and it's all about this right now in Bermuda. For 2 days of the year, Angela, do you favor red and blue or just blue?
Somerset all the way, red and blue. Red and blue.
I'm so glad I asked this at the end of the conversation. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Have a wonderful one. Talk soon.
Okay, thank you too. Okay.
All right. Angela Bruce-Heath, folks. We're outnumbered. Like, do St. George's fans ever come on this show? But that was an awesome convo, folks. If you appreciated the information Angela shared with us this morning, and you are streaming with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, or Instagram, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. We're going to take a quick break. After this break, our final break, we'll come back and we'll do the daily play, which is another Keys to the Past. All right. And I'll give my final thoughts on the conversation, and I'll go back to read some comments from earlier about leadership, the premier in particular, from this Carnival weekend. Stick with us. Don't go anywhere.
Children love to play and have fun, and they love gifts even more, especially ones that they can enjoy and learn from. With Bermuda Trivia coloring books, kids can explore the island while they color, learn, and create. The perfect activity for fun and learning together. Available now.
Visit BermudaTrivia.com and follow Bermuda Trivia on your favorite social media platforms to learn more.
For over 70 years, Bermuda Pest Control has been protecting homes and businesses island-wide. We offer a full suite of services, including rodent control, termite fumigation, and general insect control and maintenance. Our team of experts will quickly and efficiently eliminate any pest problem you may have. With Bermuda Pest Control, you can enjoy a pest-free home in no time. We're committed to providing fast, reliable, and solution-driven services for our customers. It's what we've been doing since 1952. Call Bermuda Pest Control today and say goodbye to pests for good.
Dreaming of expanding your business?
With BDC's loan guarantee program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda business starts here.
Bermuda, there's nothing like a home-cooked meal, especially when you can feed the whole family without stretching your wallet. With the affordable Bermuda basket, you'll find savings on everyday staples like rice, chicken, corn, and more. Everything you need to make a good meal for less. Shop the Bermuda basket at Lindo's, Marketplace, the Garden Market, and the English Market. Visit costofliving.gov.bm to see the full list of goods and start planning your meals. This is a message from the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Life moves fast, and so can the unexpected. When you insure your home, you need to know that your insurance company has your back. At Freisenbruch, let one of our friendly and professional agents give you that peace of mind. Because when you are covered, you are confident. Call us at 296-3600 or visit freisenbruch.bm to learn more.
Guess what? Bermuda's most popular game is back. That's right, Shoe Buy is back in stores. But wait, there's more. The brand new Shoe Buy Summer Edition is here too. Bring the laughs, the vibes, the friendly chaos to your barbecues and summer get-togethers with Bermuda's favorite game. Don't miss your chance to get yours. Visit BermudaTrivia.com and follow Bermuda Trivia on social media to learn more.
One lucky box in the summer edition has a golden ticket with the chance to win a grand prize courtesy of One Communications.
All righty, welcome back to the big show. Thanks again to Freisenbruch, Angela, Bruce-Heath for these amazingly engaging and informative conversations. Greatly appreciate them. Big shout out to the BAC group of companies, HSBC, Bermuda Medicals, Linda's, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 1075 for ensuring we can do this with you on a regular basis. Again, folks, if you've appreciated the discussion this morning, whatever social media platform you may be streaming on, give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Make sure everyone you know has access to these most important community conversations. All right, folks, it's time for the Daily Play. Brought to you by Bermuda Trivia. You see it. You've got the kids' coloring books in stores. You've got the latest sports edition of Bermuda Trivia released this year, and the Shoe Buy Original, as well as the new summer edition. Just the most fun, creative, informative, educational games Bermuda has ever created. Ask me how I know. They're available at various stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok to find out why they're Bermuda's favorite trivia games. All right, are you ready? It's Keys to the Past. You all have been great at this game so far. This is in partnership with our good friends at Curb. All right, here is your clue this week. With scissors sharp and vision clear, he shaped more than the styles of hair. From island life to history's page, he rose to lead upon a greater stage. Find the lane, both short and small, that leads to one who changed it all. You all have got this one. Remember, don't say the answer in the comments. Once someone gets the answer, we will share it. All right? But that's your clue for today. And if you forget it, you can go on our social media channels and you'll see the clue. You can go on Curb, follow Curb, C-U-R-B, Bermuda, on social media. You can see the clue there. But you all have been really good at this, so I have no doubt that you will get the answer very soon. But let's wrap it up this morning. As far as the discussion, some key points, right? We had Bermuda Carnival this weekend, and obviously Premier David Byrd, a big soca fan, he was there. There was clips showing the Premier having fun, shirt off, swim trunks, yelling, and enjoying the moment. As expected, some people were not impressed. They didn't find it appropriate that the Premier was, behaving as such. I want to go through a few comments from earlier. Ms. Ellen Kate Horton said, as we speak of the poor role models, I expect elected officials to dress appropriately, and ministers should know better. I think of a picture that I have seen on social media with boobs uncovered appropriately. This is unacceptable. I'm a regular at Cot Match, and I can think of two premiers who have disrespected the people as they were as drunk as skunks at the Classic. That's a no-no. All right, we've got Dr. Maria Seaman says they get paid hire money, behave higher. Okay. We've got Ross Maven says folks just want to throw dirt on his name while he's heading out the door. All right. We've got 911 Island Girl says, regardless of what position one holds, once you put yourself forth for any public office, a high level of decorum must be demonstrated at all times. It comes with the calling. We've got Dr. Seaman says, stay detached and represent honorably. Don't need all these paid politicians anyway. And we've got Stacey Medeiros, who agreed with Ross Maven. You ain't fibbing. Bermudians tried to flop you before they encourage you, suffering from colonialism still. Look, we all have our own opinions and perspectives, right? We all feel how we feel about certain things. That's just what it is, right? At the end of the day, people are allowed to have fun and enjoy themselves if they're not causing harm to others. Now, it's debatable whether or not the behavior of the premier is causing harm to others. I would love to see people, even in public office, have fun in the safest and most enjoyable way. If it doesn't bring the office into a space that's uncomfortable for Bermuda. But here's the thing. Getting into politics is a choice. It's a choice that one makes. And I do believe leaders should maintain a certain level of formality in public. But at the same time, and we must remember that they are still human beings entitled to enjoy their personal time. And we must ask ourselves, where's the line between personal freedom and enjoyment and public responsibility? And when we do that, we ask ourselves, as the world evolves, do we want school principals, our police commissioner, CEOs, religious leaders? Do we want them acting like this? Or does this behavior damage public trust? Or is it just something that simply makes some people uncomfortable seeing leaders act casually like the majority of the population? A lot to think about there. As far as the conversation with Angela, I'll say this much. Things are not getting less expensive or cheaper. I've spoken to many retired people over the last 2 months. It's scary. It's scary to know that people have given so much to their careers and their communities are struggling during a time where they should be feet up, relaxing, and enjoying the fruits of their labor. I'd encourage anyone who, not even if you're just close to retirement age, but if you've never had these conversations, to hear the advice, reach out and ask your employer some questions. What I don't want to see is more people struggling when they should be enjoying the lives that they earned. All right, folks, I got to give you some daily inspiration, and I'm going to turn to my book. And I just want to say a big thank you to every last person who's purchased my book. I'm in disbelief at how many people have purchased it. And then to those who have reached out and said, man, this quote really resonated with me. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. I appreciate that. This quote is probably one of the first in the book. And It goes something like this. Well, it goes exactly like this. Be humble enough to understand that everything is temporary. And that goes for political positions and the respect that people have for you. It's temporary. It is. All right, folks, got to let you go. So do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC, Bermuda, Medical House Lenders, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to Hot 107.5 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio areas with these most important community conversations. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are is out. Peace.